Elvis loved the song, so it's not his fault. Dolly Parton is America's sweetheart and a beloved country music star. She has been charming people with her voice and heart for decades. But what if we told you that behind that beautiful smile is a history of anger, betrayal, and famous feuds that never made the news? In front of everyone, they smiled and praised her. But behind the scenes, doors were slammed, friends were broken, and words were mean. One singer told her they would never work with her again. Someone else tried to take her biggest hit. We now know the five singers Dolly couldn't stand working with, even though she tried to keep it a secret. But what did really happen when no one was around? And why are some of those old wounds still very open? You will never see Dolly Parton the same way again after you learn the truth. The rise of Dolly Parton to fame, her big hair, sparkly clothes, and singing that could make angels cry, may be what you know her for. Behind the scenes, though, Dolly Parton has a story that will blow your mind. From being very poor to becoming a singing star is an amazing story. A lot of people don't know that it's full of excitement. She's known as the Queen of Kindness, but she's had some very bad relationships with other people in the business. But to know who Dolly had a problem with, you need to know more about her and why she doesn't like to cause trouble. She was born on January 19, 1946, in a small house with only one room in Locust Ridge, Tennessee. Her family was loving, but they were having a hard time. There were 12 kids living in a simple mountain house. Lee Parton, her father, worked hard as a farmer and building worker but couldn't read or write. But Dolly says he was the smartest person she's ever met. Avi Lee, her mother, had 12 kids before she turned 35, and she is sure that she taught Dolly to love stories, music, and God. But Dolly didn't like making music for fun. I had to stay alive. The Partons didn't have any money for fun things to do, so the kids learned to sing in church and on the porch. Dolly's family first heard her voice when she was young. By the time she was 10, she was singing on Knoxville, Tennessee, radio and TV shows. She started singing at the Grand Ole Opry pretty quickly after that. She graduated from high school in 1964 and packed her bags the next day. She had no money or ties and set out for Nashville. She left behind Smoky Mountains, but with big dreams and skill. She began by making songs for other people. She didn't just want to be a singer, though. The attention was hers, and she got it. Dumb Blonde was her first country hit, which came out in 1967. She told everyone with this smart little song that she wasn't just a pretty face, but a good one. How did she go from being new to Nashville to becoming famous all over the world? Everything changed when she joined the Porter Wagoner Show in 1967. A lot of people watched her on TV every week. Her duets with Porter were big hits right away. People loved how well they worked together, how well they sang together, and how charming Dolly was. By the early 1970s, she was singing on her own and no one could stop her. When Jolene came out in 1973, it quickly became a hit. Then came We'll Always Love You, which became a worldwide hit. Yes, Whitney Houston's version came a long time after the first one and made it one of the most famous songs ever. But Dolly still has the rights. In the 1980s, Dolly was all over the place. That one song made her a lot of money, but she never brags about it. It's in movies, songs, merchandise, everything. Along with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, she was in 9 to 5, which showed that she wasn't just a singer. Then there was Dollywood, her own theme park that opened in 1986 in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Dolly built a family amusement park in her city to help the economy while other stars bought yachts. To be honest, Dolly is one of the nicest people in show business, but don't let that fool you. For a girl who grew up without running water, she's written over 1,000 songs, won several Grammys and Lifetime Achievement Awards, and been admitted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's not all, though. Through her fantasy library, she's also given away a huge number of books. This project makes sure that all kids can get books, no matter where they live. Over the years, Dolly has made a name for herself as a sweet, humble, and serious person. But even a Southern angel has bounds. A few names have come up over and over again over the years. People she had problems with. People who didn't think much of her. People who thought they owned her or could take credit for how bright she was. Dolly does remember, of course. Behind the scenes, there have been fights, stress, and hurt feelings she'll never forget. And one of the first, and maybe most difficult, was with a man who helped her start her business and then tried to take it over. They used to work together, but things got so bad that they had one of the messiest breakups in country music. Porter Wagoner versus Dolly Parton. Porter Wagoner was a big name in country music long before Dolly wasn't. He became famous because he was charming and had a voice that could break anyone's heart. He was more than just a singer. He put on a show. He also had his own TV show called The Porter Wagoner Show in the 1960s. It was one of the most popular country music shows in the United States. He had a lot of flash on stage. Behind the scenes, though, he was smart, business savvy, and very traditional. He knew what would sell, and he thought Dolly Parton was unique. Fans who loved Norma Jean didn't like it at first when Dolly Parton replaced her as Porter's female singer. On stage, people booed Dolly. Some people even sent her letters of anger. Porter was determined to keep her, though. What about Dolly? She was kind, calm, and driven because she wanted to make a point. They were a hit right away. Their harmony was electric, and the way they worked together was pure gold. They had more than a dozen top 10 hits between them. They looked great together in songs and on camera. But anxiety was building behind the smiles. Now here's the deal. Porter Wagoner wanted more than just to sing with Dolly. He supposedly wanted to run her career. He was in charge of her shows, chose the songs they would record, and made most business choices. Dolly wasn't just a pretty face and a singer, though. She wrote songs, thought deeply, and had her own unique vision. But her goals were much bigger than making duet songs and appearing on TV shows as a guest. She did what she was told for years, but as she became more well-known, she wanted to be unique. She quickly became angry, and she started writing songs that weren't like the ones Porter and Dolly used to write. She wanted to be able to be creative and, most importantly, have power over her own voice. She later admitted that Porter had a hard time seeing her as equal to him. At first, he gave her a stage, but after many years, that stage was turned into a cage. She didn't leave right away, though. She knew she owed him a lot, but by 1973, the strain was too high to handle. She also quit the Porter Wagoner Show in 1974. The people thought it was friendly. But behind closed doors, that was only the start. Porter came back strong with lawyers 5 years after she left. His claim that she had broken their contract led him to sue Dolly for $3 million in 1979. She owed him money for show costs, management fees, and a share of her income since she quit the show, he said. Dolly was shocked. Porter had always been a guide to her, even though they didn't get along very well when they broke up. It felt like betrayal to file this case. It got bad for a while. There were public comments and news stories about it, and rumors in the business, but Dolly didn't drag him through it. She solved the case without going to court instead. She said afterward that she didn't want to fight and only wanted to be free. Dolly was hurt deeply by the whole thing. Porter had been there from the start and meant something to her. Even though they had done great things together, he wouldn't let her go without a fight. In an interview, she said, "It was much deeper than that." This showed Dolly an ugly side of Porter that she had never seen before. It was said that this hurt her so much. The good news is that things always change with time. In the late 1980s, Porter and Dolly began to talk again after being angry with each other for years. A lot of people were shocked when Dolly did something in 2002. Porter Wagoner was added to the Country Music Hall of Fame by her. She told the crowd on stage how much he meant to her, even when things were hard, too. And Dolly is said to have visited Porter in the hospital in 2007 when he had lung cancer. Porter died a few weeks after that. Dolly was very sad. She held a tribute show at Dollywood, but not for the public or the news, but for the man who helped her reach her goals, even though he tried to stop her. One of the most complicated parts of Dolly's work was her time with Porter. It changed her in ways that not many people know. This person on Dolly's list then said something that shocked everyone, not just Dolly. Linda Ronstadt versus Dolly Parton. They were the best team ever. Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Emmylou Harris are 3 of the most famous women in country music. They worked together on the legendary record trio, Their sounds went together so well that they made hits that still give us chills. But things weren't always happy and sing-along behind the scenes, especially between Dolly and Linda, and what began as a singing friendship almost turned into a full-on fight. All three of them were already big stars in their own right by the mid-1970s. They liked each other's work and wished they could work together, but because of schedule conflicts and politics at the record company, their plans kept getting pushed back. That wasn't until 1987 when their first record, Trio, came out. The record did really well. It won a Grammy, went silver, and topped the country charts. Even though the music was peaceful, the recording sessions were anything but. She was known for getting things done quickly, and Dolly liked to get songs right in just 1 or 2 takes. When Linda was singing, on the other hand, she often spent hours trying to get just 1 note right. Emmylou tried to keep the peace as the peacemaker. One time, Dolly said that working with Linda was like dealing with a diva who wants to live in the studio and take their time working. She even said she wanted to yell at Linda a lot of times. It got so bad that everyone could see that their ways of working didn't get along and that problems were building up behind the scenes. Even though it was hard, the group tried to make a second album in 1994. They taped Trio 2, but it wasn't released until later because of problems with the label and scheduling. Thank goodness the record came out in 1999, but it was too late. The damage to their relationship. Through Linda, it was clear that she thought Dolly didn't fully follow the plan, or dedication needed to finish the project. Does Dolly care more about her solo business than the group effort? Linda thought so, and it made things bad between them. The stress between them was strong enough to make things really stick together. In fact, Linda made it clear that she didn't want to work with Dolly again. Linda admitted that she thought Dolly's lack of respect ruined what was supposed to be a fun time working together. Yes, time does heal some scars. Years later, even though they had a lot of bad blood, Linda and Dolly started to show signs of getting along again. However, there were times when it was awkward. Both women probably still had a grudge against each other. And while they aren't actively mean to each other, they also don't do much to get back together as friends. Even though the trio's legacy lived on and fans praised their historic work together, Dolly still couldn't get Linda's words out of her head. They made her feel bad. The king of pop. People think of Elvis Presley as the king of rock and roll. He was a culture icon who never went away and changed the way music was made. Oh, and then there's Dolly Parton, the country queen whose songs have made her famous. Although they are both legendary in the music world, there was a time in history when these two musical giants almost met. However, they didn't because of a major tension over an iconic song. The first song was I Will Always Love You by Dolly Parton. Dolly wrote this song in 1973, and it was very important to her. It was about her choice to go solo after leaving Porter Wagner, who had been her guide for a long time. It began as a sad goodbye, but it became one of the most beloved country songs of all time, and Dolly put her whole heart into the words. The song was released as a single and became a big hit right away, making her famous all over the world. At the time, she didn't know that Elvis Presley's team was also interested in the song. It was something the king himself wanted to cover, and his team was already working on it. Elvis was very famous in the middle of the 1970s. He was known for taking songs by other singers and making them his own. Dolly was obviously pleased when he said he was interested in I Will Always Love You. But there was a very big problem. As you know, Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager, was known for asking for crazy deals on songs for Elvis to record. It was just getting big for Dolly as a singer-songwriter, so she wasn't going to give in. Colonel Parker thought he should get at least half of the money Elvis made from recording songs. Dolly couldn't agree with this. It wasn't just about the cash. It was because she was good at what she did. Dolly knew how important her work was and wasn't going to let anyone use it without thanks. She said no to Presley because of this. She told his boss, I can't do that because it's the most important copyright in my whole publishing company. Dolly has said many times that the deal Elvis's team made with her hurt her a lot. Even though she thought he was a great artist, this deal felt like it was set up to take advantage of her. She felt bad about this. Dolly later said that Elvis was very mad that she said no. She said that Elvis really liked the song and wanted to record it. There were times when she felt sorry for him, but she knew that if she gave in, other artists and agents would use her in the future. It wasn't just a song that made Dolly and Elvis angry. It was very close to home. They got along less well because of it, even though she tried to be polite about it. After the fact, Dolly said she didn't think Elvis ever fully forgiven her for saying no. When asked about the impact, Dolly has said that it broke her heart, especially since she thought so highly of Elvis as an artist. She even said Elvis was very sensitive. After that, there was a clear change between them, even though he didn't hit her directly. I Will Always Love You was Dolly's first choice, and it turned out to be the best choice for her career. Whitney Houston eventually did a cover of the song, which made it one of the most famous songs ever. Dolly made a lot of money from the song's popularity, which brought it to a whole new group of people. But Dolly never felt bad about what she did, even though it caused trouble with Elvis. It made her feel good to stand up for herself, even if it meant going against one of the biggest stars of her time. It's not the first time Dolly has stood up for herself when things got tough. Howard Stern. It takes a lot to upset Dolly Parton because she is so nice, humble, and never gets into trouble. But in 2008, one man made her give up. Howard Stern was that person. He is famous for being rude and not sorry for how he acts in life. Howard Stern is one of the most famous and controversial radio hosts of all time. He's been in a lot of trouble in the past. In the 1980s and 1990s, his show, The Howard Stern Show, became very famous very quickly. Stern made a lot of money by saying things that most people wouldn't. For his fans, he had no fear. People who didn't like him thought he was rude and often insulting. That same year, 2008, Dolly Parton was involved in a very public scandal regarding Stern. The most controversial part of his show was when his team put together fake interviews from Dolly's podcast, My Life and Other Unfinished Business. The voice of Dolly was used from real records and put together lines and words to make it sound like she was saying the worst, most offensive, and racist things you can think of. The part made it sound like Dolly slammed other artists like Kenny Rogers and Linda Ronstadt and said bad things about her own body and personal life. It's not funny at all, even though that was the point. It was mean, in poor taste, and very insulting instead. Stern staff played it on air and laughed because it was just another shock part for them.